Live from Dr. Pink Field in Frisco, Texas, USA Ultimate is proud to present the 2014 USA Ultimate National Championship and the men's final between Denver Johnny Bravo and Boston Ironside. A look at our men's bracket and how we got here with two incredible semifinal games yesterday. Boston beating Raleigh, Toronto losing to Denver, and now the championship game here today. With the voice of Ultimate, Evan Lepler, I'm Wayne Randazzo, and how can we top yesterday's semifinal matchups? These two teams will have to figure out a way in the championship game.
It's going to be tough, but we're certainly capable of having another thriller today. These are two programs that both have been great for a long time, but neither has ever risen to the top of the USA Ultimate hierarchy. But today, that's the quest. And Denver Johnny Bravo, founded in 2000, a lot of great players have gone through this program, but they've never been as talented as they are right now. Trying to make history today. Jimmy Mickle won the Callahan, won the college championship with Colorado, trying to be the first player ever to win the Callahan college title and the club title in the same year. And if he gets the W, Kurt Gibson's going to be a big reason why. He was tremendous yesterday, scored 7 goals in their thrilling semifinal win over Goat.
Now, one thing we know about the winner of this game, they will be a national champion for the first time, so how can Boston Ironside get there?
Well, it's going to be tough for Boston because they played Bravo in pool play, and it was a game that Denver really dominated, 12-9. It wasn't even that close. Boston's offense was not in fine form, but yesterday the offense looked good early in the game. George Stubbs getting involved, sending it deep to his younger brother John Stubbs, and then later just very fluid end zone offense. But Boston today going to be reliant on not only George Stubbs, but also this year's Farraker Award winner Danny Clark, a veteran of the club game. He ultimately had the game-winning score yesterday. It slipped through George Stubbs' hands, and then Danny Clark, like he so often is, open in the end zone, sure-handed, and Boston Ironside wanting to make that final step toward ultimate immortality.
Two national championships have been decided today. Now the men's title on the line. Denver Johnny Bravo, Boston Ironside in the opening pull coming up next. The 2014 USA Ultimate Championships are brought to you by Discraft Ultrastar, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Ask your retailer today about Discraft Ultrastar. The Triple Crown Tour, America's most competitive and prestigious series of ultimate tournaments. And by USA Ultimate, the national governing body of the sport of ultimate in the United States. To learn more about USA Ultimate or to find out where to play in your area, visit usaultimate.org. It's a lovely day here in Frisco, Texas. 74 degrees, calm winds, low humidity.
I wish we would have
asked for a better championship Sunday weather-wise, as Boston Ironside and Johnny Bravo out of Denver match up for this men's title. The winner of this game will be national champions for the first time in program history.
Obviously, Boston has won a lot of titles, but none since the death or glory days. Denver's starting lineup is primarily the offensive line with Keegan, Gibson, Mickle, Clore, Bart Watson, who's won numerous titles before, but none with Bravo. Farrell and Ackley, the former Callahan Award winner himself. Will Neff and George Stubbs, 2 Callahan Award winners for Ironside. And Stubbs not listed there, but he'll be on the D-line. And the D-line will get started today for Boston.
Ironside will pull to Johnny Bravo to begin this one. And away we go. The 2014 Men's National Championship game is underway in Frisco. Johnny Bravo in blue and Ironside in white, both coming off dramatic semifinal victories on Universe Points last night. It was a hard-fought win for Ironside as they defeated Raleigh Ring of Fire. And Johnny Bravo with their win past Goat out of Toronto. Both had big leads that got away.
Russell Wallach on Watson. George Stubbs on Mickle. Rusty Ingold Smith on Ackley. Mark Sherwood chasing Kurt Gibson. Jack Hatchett on Keegan.
Both of these teams have teased championships in the last several years. Neither's been able to actually win one. That will change today as Johnny Bravo begins with possession.
Other downfield matchups. Jeff Babbitt on Jackson Clore, Christian Foster on Ryan Farrell.
Great throw by Jimmy Mickle along the sideline.
We could just record you saying great throw by Jimmy Mickle and play that back numerous times throughout the game. You know, never before, as far as I know, I tried to ask around as best as I could. There have been some people who have come close to doing it, but to win the Callahan, the college title, and a club title in the same year, don't think that's ever been done. Now, a couple former Brown guys came close to doing it. Fortunat Mueller won a club title in '99, and then the next year, 2000, won the Callahan and the national title. Justin Safdie for Brown also came close to doing it. So you see the observers for this men's final.
Wally Kwong, the head observer, with Keith Temple, Brad Tinney, and Julie Morris.
I mean, either way, this is going to be a historic day with one of these two teams, both such strong programs, such strong coaches. Bob Cryer, longtime Bravo player himself. Teammates helped to lead the squad with USA Ultimate. Staff member Will Deaver.
Jimmy Mickle goes up, makes an incredible catch, and Johnny Bravo strikes first.
What a way to set the tone. On a day when he's trying to make personal history and team history, he rises above one of the nation's best defenders on the game's first point.
Just awesome. Mickle above George Stubbs. Look at the hang time.
Holy cow. You saw the eye contact, a great throw from Watson. Mickle has just a little bit of size on Stubbs.
Mickle always very calm on the field. No matter the situation, he's give you the idea that he's been there before, even though in most cases this year he really hasn't.
Well, there's Mickle getting hydrated. On the D-line right now for Bravo, believe it or not, Stanley Peterson, who basically needed to be carried off the field yesterday after Mark Lloyd accidentally landed on his ankle on a layout bid. Peterson yesterday was on a different level, and as Bravo and Ironside both go for their first title, Boston Ironside also thinking about revenge for the pool play loss. Two players yesterday I think really became stars in the sport of Ultimate on the men's side. Justin Allen for Ring and Stanley Peterson for Bravo. And Peterson matching up on Neff, and they're testing him early, and Neff has him beat.
And Will Neff with the catch right on the edge of the goal line. It's not a point yet. Now it is, as Neff flips it in to McNaughton.
Here's McNaughton with the score. Stanley Peterson was beat deep there. He did look pretty good catching up. This is a buttery biscuit from Brandon Malachek. The Boston O-line looking crisp. Going deep on Neff.
Great throw here, set up the score from Malachek. You see Peterson getting beat there. Healthy or not, he was not beaten by anybody yesterday.
The plays he made on both ends of the field against Lloyd, consensus top 5 player in the men's game himself. You know, Peterson still has college eligibility left. Ironside lost to Bravo in pool play, but that was the only loss, taking down double wide in a very tight first round game. Boston pulled away late. Beat Rhino after Rhino knocked off Sockeye. You know, heading into the bracket play, I thought Boston-Seattle was going to be the best quarterfinal game. Never materialized. thought Revolver Bravo would be the best semifinal game. That never materialized. Machine, Sockeye, and Revolver, the top 3 seeds, were all shockingly eliminated. Little more air under this one than Mickle wanted, looking for Keegan.
Almost came back all the way to Kurt Gibson on the back end of that play as Mickle got under that one.
Beg your pardon, looking for Clore.
So Ironside will take over. Each team has gotten on the board early. And each team not afraid to take chances early. Here's another one. Trying to track it down. Jeff Babbitt's got it in stride for the goal.
The first break goes to Boston. And Jeff Babbitt, a rising star, a junior at UMass. A nice, silky, smooth put for Babbitt, beating Brody Smith deep. Jeff Babbitt, a rookie, and the guy who just wrapped up his freshman year of college last spring, John Stubbs. Stubbs to Babbitt.
The youth of Ironside getting them an early lead. Johnny Bravo scored the first goal, but now back-to-back for Boston.
And you know, for those guys to break themselves into the game like this, not that Josh McCarthy was worried about their poise and composure, but to put 2 rookies out there in the D-line and to have them come up with a break on their second defensive point, pretty impressive. Jesse Ream will get a point here in the O-line. Out there with Ackley, Farrell, Keegan, Gibson, Mickle, and Bart Watson.
Men's championship, both offenses strong early.
Teddy Brower Jarris with the pull.
This one's going to go to the back of the end zone. It lands inbounds.
It lands in and bounces out. You can bring it to the front of the end zone, but you can't necessarily center it. You play it where it lies.
Jimmy Mickle with the catch on the far end. Swings it out to Kurt Gibson. Back to Mickle it goes. Flip ahead to Jesse Ream. Now Josh Ackley gets involved. Flip on the side to Mickle. Stoppage here as Mickle waits for a pick.
You guys set?
Mickle sends it back. That's Bart Watson. Now Mickle again near midfield. A little bit behind Gibson, but able to corral it.
Bravo has a lot of different players that are capable of taking over a game. But I think today it's going to be a lot of Gibson and Mickle, as we see right here.
And Jimmy Mickle has caught both of Johnny Bravo's scores so far in this one.
You know, Kurt Gibson has been very successful playing a 2-man game in the past, often with his former Florida teammate Tim Garrett, who won the Callahan back in 2006. Garrett was in the finals last year playing for Seattle Sockeye. Not playing this season. Sockeye could have used him. And Gibson to Mickle.
The year of Jimmy Mickle. Callahan Award winner in his collegiate play with Colorado Mama Bird. They won the college national championship. A chance here with Johnny Bravo to win the club national championship. Johnny Bravo 3-0 in Pool D. They beat Boston Ironside in pool play 12-9. The winner of GOAT in the semifinals yesterday, a hard-fought win. Fan club behind them as well here this afternoon.
Yet another Callahan Award winner, Nick Lance from Georgia Tech with the pull. Jacob Taylor, Josh Marquette, Brandon Malachek, Danny Clark. Out there with Will Neff, Brian Garcia, and Thomas Sayer McCord. Sayer McCord defeating his former ring teammates in just an epic instant classic yesterday. They looked deep for Clark, they got him.
Danny Clark had a huge game yesterday, caught the game-winning goal. And he's on the board here for Ironside as they go up 3-2 on Johnny Bravo.
It was a good upline cut by Marquette, and he was able to set his feet right in rhythm and hit Clark, who has made a living of timing cuts well. Clark with his 13th goal of the weekend, and he leads Ironside in end zone receptions.
Thirteenth goal this weekend for Danny Clark.
Been a tumultuous summer. Mentioned it yesterday, but he lost his sister this summer. She passed away. It prevented him from going with the team to Worlds, despite the fact that as a captain, he was responsible for so much of the logistical planning for that event. Travel and transportation once they arrived in Italy. Didn't even get to go. To win the Farraker Award is nice, but he's got one goal, which is to finally win the club championship. The veteran, he's been coming to nationals since 2004.
So Johnny Bravo will get it back after the pull from George Stubbs. Expect this one to be tight, especially after what we saw yesterday in the men's division. Even if it's not tight, it can be again. Jimmy Mickle, 2 goals already for Johnny Bravo. Flings it up the sideline to Farrell. Farrell being pinned. Sends it back, but a stoppage here as Watson handles the disc.
You know, to give John Stubbs the Bart Watson matchup says so much about Josh McCarthy's confidence in this kid. Rusty Ingold Smith is guarding Farrell. George Stubbs once again on Mickle.
Coming on 5.
Mickle can't catch that one. We'll see if there's a foul as both Mickle and Jeff Babbitt went for the disc. So we'll sort it out as the observers talk. Brody Smith there as well. Joined here in this first half by Vice President of Discraft, Mike Wagner, joins the broadcast. And Mike, Discraft, obviously a big part of what USA Ultimate does. Can't have these events without you guys.
Yeah, you kind of need a disc to use.
That's exactly right. So
Is it true that this is your first Ultimate tournament?
Yes, this is my first Ultimate tournament.
What have you been doing your whole life?
Well, you know, somebody's got to make the plastic parts, so, you know, that Ultra Star doesn't get made by itself.
No, I've spent some time talking to one of your employees, a questionable gentleman, great guy named Pat Timmons, and he says it's a very secretive process that you guys use to make these Ultra Stars.
Yeah, well, it's you know, top secret where we can't let you know exactly how we make it, but it's a simple process of injection molding and using high-tech engineered resin.
Kurt Gibson gets a goal for Johnny Bravo. Back to even now, 3-3 as we talk to Mike Wagner, Vice President of Discraft. Those great Ultra Star discs that you see flying all over the field throughout this weekend, made by these guys from Discraft. And how did you get into the business of making Ultimate discs?
Well, I got involved about 20 years ago. My uncle started the company back in '79, and he got involved in Ultimate back in '91 when the Discraft Ultrastar became the official disc of the championship play.
I've become a Discraft elitist. If someone throws me a disc and it's not an Ultrastar, I immediately just throw it away.
Yeah, it's definitely become the world standard for Ultimate play. A lot of that's due to the fact of the consistent quality parts that we make.
Just what makes your product different than some of the other competitors out there that really sets you guys apart, that makes you the official disc of Ultimate?
Well, from day one, we built the mold. We do all the injection molding back in Michigan, and it's been in the same area, ran by the same people, with a lot of heart and soul going into these parts.
How's your game? You guys invented the disc over there. You might as well learn how to throw it.
well, we spent a lot of time doing a lot of research and working on new resins and stuff, but getting out and playing, it gets hard to do that sometimes.
Little junk defense look here from Bravo, and Boston beats it pretty easily. There's not nearly as much wind right now as there was in the final round of pool play on Thursday, when Bravo's defense really suffocated Boston's offense. But a lot of that had to do with the wind being an 8th defender.
Good start so far for these two as we talk to Mike Wagner, Vice President of Discraft. Of course, their Ultrastar being flipped around right now. And Ironside trying to break into the end zone again, and they do, as that goal goes to Josh Marquette.
I know you guys make a lot of discs for Ultimate. You make a lot of discs for all sorts of occasions. I bought about 150 discs from you guys in September. My sister got married. That was the wedding giveaway. How many wedding discs do you guys make a year?
We're doing definitely, hundreds of designs that, go to weddings, go to, all kinds of events. But, definitely weddings, for people that play Ultimate, that's definitely a good, wedding gift that they hand out to all
the discs were a hit.
You guys have any kind of changes or different types of discs that you're working on?
Recently, past few years, we brought out the J-Star, which is used it's the official youth disc for USA Ultimate, and that's a smaller diameter Ultrastar, and it's meant for smaller hands for the youth play, and that seems to be taking off, and that's helping grow the sport with the youth division.
How can people find out more about Discraft and your company?
Go to discraft.com. You find everything you need to know about Discraft and Ultimate.
All right, Mike Wagner, the Vice President of Discraft. The Ultrastar, there it is. The official disc of USA Ultimate. Mike, thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
That's Mike Wagner, Vice President of Discraft. As this tournament concludes, this season concluding with this game, as the 2014 year in Ultimate wrapping up here today. And Boston Ironside up against Denver Johnny Bravo in this championship round. With both teams trying to win their first championship. Sean Keegan along the sideline for Johnny Bravo. He's going deep. He's got Gibson. Gibson can't track it down as the disc flies out of the end zone. If there was unlimited space at the back of the end zone, Gibson probably would have caught it, but only 20 yards deep.
Yeah, he had the speed to get there, but there wasn't enough field left.
It's a chance here for Ironside to go up 2 for the first time.
That's only the second turnover in the game. Bravo's turned it over twice. We talked about it yesterday, but a year ago, the Boston D-line lacked the offensive firepower. It's been a different story this year. Wallach looking deep. He wants Simmons. He's got him.
Alex Simmons to give Ironside their biggest lead of this game so far. And a 5-3 advantage for Boston.
Only times Bravo has made mistakes is when it's tried to do a little too much. That deep shot from Keegan, sort out the back, and Boston just able to capitalize. Wallach known more for his defense, but he airs it out, and Simmons leaves no doubt. Goes to make the play. If he didn't make it, Jim Foster was standing nearby too. So Bravo facing the first bit of adversity in this game. Boston certainly gotten off to a better start than they did on Thursday.
As we saw last night, not too many leads insurmountable in this men's division. It's been quite a tournament on the men's side, especially with a lot of upsets. Do you think it's because maybe now there's just more parity?
I think that's an oversimplification of it. I think that, you know, upsets happen. I think last year in the new format at Nationals, all 4 pool winners went on to the semifinals. And people may have thought that there was more of a premium of winning the pool, but the fact is, with the new format right now, everybody's on pretty equal footing on Friday morning. And I think it's the nature of, over the course of one game, anything can happen. You know, I'm not sure anybody would pick Ring to beat Machine, Goat to beat Revolver, or Rhino to beat Sockeye in a 7-game series. But those also wouldn't be 4-game sweeps, as we saw by the instance of it's a one and done.
So is the format not suitable to really find the best champion or the best team?
You know, that's a really good question. That's going to be debated over the course of the next few months. I think this format adds a lot of excitement to it. I think there was something cool about the power pools that they did for so many years as well. But, you know, I'll tell you, in terms of building energy, you know, Friday morning at 9 a.m., everything was on the line, even for a team like Sockeye, who won their pool and went to the finals of Worlds and went to the finals of Nationals. You know, in terms of intensity at that moment, it was remarkable. Now, was it fair to Sockeye? You know, they lost. It was a really tight game, could have gone either way. There were calls. Wish there were observers in that game. Not that things got out of hand, but Nickel looking for Farrell. Got him.
Farrell does make the catch right in front of Danny Clark. Johnny Bravo gets a big score. So back to a 1-goal game. Now you mentioned, as we see this again, Farrell stopping on a dime at the back of the end zone after this toss from Jimmy Mickle. You mentioned the preliminary games without observers, so in the situations we've seen where there is a debate, how do they finish that out?
Contest or no contest? And if only it were that simple. That's true of self-officiation, even at the highest level in elimination play, not just preliminary play, but there are some elimination games that didn't have observers.
2 goals and an assist for Mickle so far today. First team to 8. Sends this game to halftime. First team to 15. Claims their first national championship. Ironside out in front with possession. That's Clark. They threw it right into traffic.
And Nick Lance, the poach D. And this is Bravo's chance to break back.
They'll take it from the reverse brick mark, essentially. Little off center of that as Nick Lance flips it to the sideline. And it's short and intercepted. Didn't take long for Johnny Bravo to give it right back.
Muffin lets one fly.
A deep toss on the huck for the end zone and pulled down by Brian Garcia for the score.
Brandon Malachek is known for his deep shots. And this one certainly not high percentage like 95%. More like 50-50 or maybe 60-40. Garcia certainly had position, but this floated for a while, and Garcia timed his jump, elevated. It's a big score for Boston to stay in front.
So the great timing on the leap by Garcia. Back to a 2-goal lead for Ironside.
Brian Garcia played in the Bay Area for a long time. Both Jam, Revolver, and Blackbird won a couple titles with them.
Ironside hasn't been around all that long. 2008, they were founded officially.
And a transition year, Boston Ultimate, and before that, the very successful Death or Glory team.
And Ironside has had a degree of success the entire time they've existed.
In the Final Four, 7 straight years. Now 4 trips to the finals. 3 times eliminated in the semis, including last year.
Trying to get over the hump. Bart Watson trying to run down this disc. He's got it. And Johnny Bravo looking for a quick score as they burn it in to Jackson Clore.
Jackson Clore, real underrated guy in this Bravo team. Head coach Bob Cryer says, we liked having him on defense, but we need him as a deep cutter on offense. And after Bart Watson get the deep throw, just a speedy up line cut. Second assist for Bart, the veteran. Babbitt could have done a better job anticipating that cut there as he got beat up line.
Both of these offenses clicking early. We expected to see the defenses, especially for Boston, step up and be a factor here today. It's been a shootout so far.
It's been a long season for both these teams. Tryouts began earlier with, of course, the U.S. Open. Both these teams were in the Final Four last year, so they were in Minnesota at the 3rd U.S. Open. Both lost to Revolver in the semis and finals after both beating Revolver in the preliminary round. The season began early, also preparations for Worlds. These guys really began thinking about this back in February, March. It's been physically and mentally longer. Also disjointed though. You have the US Open, then you have the ramp up for Worlds. You sort of cool off, then you try to get going back for the Pro Flight finale, which is a tough thing to do with a Worlds hangover.
Malachek looking to let it loose. Goes with the side swipe to Marquette.
Looked like Boston and Bravo were on a collision course to meet in perhaps the quarterfinals in Lecco, but fate intervened. A thriller or a devastating game, depending on what you look at it from. Boston fell to Buzz Bullets by 1, and Bravo beat Buzz Bullets, lost to Ironside. Eventually it was Revolver, as it so often has been. They look up line, there's a poach coming.
Great defensive play by Conker.
And that was sort of an inexperienced mistake. Obviously, there's so much experience on the field, but you know, Marquette was streaking up line. He had his man beat, but you didn't take a full look at the field before he released that throw, and Conker was poaching off, playing free safety, and able to come up with a big D. Timeout called by Bravo as they trail by 1, and they'll be looking to break back to even this thing up.
Chicago native Henry Conker, up at Colorado College, now part of this Johnny Bravo team that's Down just one to Boston Ironside. A chance to tie coming off that defensive stop by Conker. And this is the last game of the year at Ultimate with this men's national championship. It was kind of a bittersweet day. You crown the titles, you give out the gold medals afterward, but then when it's all done here in just a little while, that's the end of Ultimate for quite some time.
Well, you know what starts tomorrow?
What?
The hype for the college season. If it hasn't started already. You know, Colorado is going to have a new coach. Jim Shetler no longer planning on coaching Mama Bird. Pittsburgh's going to be back. Dark side, Wilmington on the men's side both going to be back. I'm sure Lou Burris is going to have the Oregon women strong again. Lisa Pitcaithley still has eligibility. No? I think she does. So Callahan nominee. Uh-oh.
We got Callahan there.
Great handler defense from Rebholz.
Still might get a Callahan as this one is in the Johnny Bravo end zone. Rebholz is guarding his man like a blanket.
Yeah, really,
Nick Lance.
really tight on Forshee, guarding the dump.
Still not out of the end zone. Maybe a hammer gets him out. It does.
Jack McShane bumping with Malachek. It's a good matchup.
Ironside's making Johnny Bravo earn this one if they do end up tying the game here. Finally break through the full court press. Into traffic, and Danny Clark with the interception. Ironside's defense sharp on that possession. Now a chance to go up 2 once again. First team to 8 sends it to halftime. Sliding grab there to keep it alive by Garcia. McNaughton has the goal. He finds Clark. Quick passes from Ironside to break into Johnny Bravo territory. Now Marquette slings it to the near side. Back to the middle with Garcia. Off the fingertips of McNaughton, who almost had it a couple of times. And now we're starting to see the defenses step up.
McNaughton, so close.
Henry Conker flips it to midfield. That's Peterson. A low release and a connection to Tim Morrissey.
I don't know about you, but I'm really surprised to see Peterson running as well as he is after the injury he suffered yesterday in the semis.
Yeah, it looked like he might not even play today, but not only is he playing, he's starting, and he's effective. Hammer throw toward the end zone. And there's Stanley Peterson to pull it down. Maybe it didn't feel so good on the landing, but it's 6-6.
Boston still up 1 break. But McShane with a solid hammer, and Peterson has been so reliable. Reliable and explosive. When this team lost to Revolver in the semis at Worlds, it was a gut punch. And Bob Cryer, the coach, said we just didn't bring the right intensity for Pro Flight, but you know, ever since Pro Flight toward regionals, trying to rebuild the enthusiasm and intensity. And, you know, I talked to Bob Cryer right after their final practice before nationals, and he marveled at the, quote, nationals level intensity that they put together at practice. And it's been tough because, you know, Bravo's been changing roles throughout the season. Kirk Gibson said last night it was sort of a last-minute decision to move him to the O-line. He's been playing a lot of defense. And they have so many different talented pieces. It's about bringing them together as best as they can. Second year of nationals here in Frisco. You're walking around the fields, those are some of the terms that you'll hear over the course of the weekend.
Callahan, a defensive player, scores his opponent's end zone. See that on the TV broadcasts at least all year. George Stubbs pinned up against the sideline.
Basically the Boston D-line playing offense here. Simmons, Sherwood, Babbitt, Ingold, Smith, George Stubbs, Russell Wallach, and Christian Foster.
Stoppage here.
You guys set? You good?
Rusty Ingold Smith with the disc. Red zone chance for Ironside, and they convert. It's Christian Foster to put Boston back on top.
Christian Foster, another product of Tina Booth's program in Amherst. He matriculated at Carleton, now back in the Beantown area. And Stubbs found him. So Boston up one, still up one break. And Ironside will take a timeout. You know, with so many different shocking results, there was a huge battle in the men's field to get back through the backdoor bracket into the pro flight for 2015. And I think in the men's division, it's really important to a lot of teams. It guarantees you access to the best tournaments. The prestige of being in that pro flight is really starting to carry some weight. And these are the 8 teams that ended up qualifying. The 4 semifinalists: Bravo, Boston, Goat, and Ring. Revolver, it was pretty impressive how they bounced back immediately from their loss to Goat in the quarters. And then Rhino, able to bounce back from a tough start on Thursday. Chain Lightning and DC Truck Stop. A really solid performance throughout this tournament. Truck ended up beating Sockeye for that last pro flight berth. And that's certainly a program building type win, because not only do they have the win over Sockeye under their belt, but now they have access to the pro flight finale next year. And the pride and glory that comes with that. Ironside, after that point, was issued a team misconduct foul, a TMF, for aggressive marking. That's 1. You get 2 warnings.
And then what?
And then there'll be a yardage penalty.
Johnny Bravo will receive the pull here from George Stubbs. First team to 8 sends this game to halftime. First to 15, the national champion.
Ingold Smith really hustling down on this pull. He'll pick up Ackley. Wallach's on Gibson. They find Kurt underneath.
Now Jimmy Mickle
Beats George Stubbs.
thought about sending it deep to Watson. Mickle finding his work against Stubbs here as a pick is called. It will come back to Mickle.
Hey, Rusty, you guys are back here. You guys are back here. Yep. Well,
Observers in orange. We'll tap it back in with Kirk Gibson. Shovels it out to Jimmy Mickle. Gibson makes a cut, but Mickle swings it back. Now Watson. After a pick, Farrell dumps it over the top to Mickle. Johnny Bravo looking for openings, playing conservatively on this possession, trying to tie it. Right on the goal line now, and they flip it into Mickle. It's actually Josh Ackley with the goal. And back to even here in Frisco as Boston now loses the lead. It's 7-7.
Boston still has the one break advantage, but Bravo able to tie it up. Josh Richter Ackley. You know, they say you can't run with a disc, but a little flip like this to Watson and his momentum, that's a legal couple of steps after you make the catch, stopping your momentum. You know, people often ask, how many steps do you get? Well, there's no set number. You have to stop your momentum and set a pivot foot as soon as you can. It was maybe one extra step, but a reasonable move. You're not going to call that. And the lateral disc movement from Bravo enables them to find the easy lane to the end zone for Ackley. And Bart Watson now with 3 assists here in the first half of the finals.
Ackley on the board, and now the next point will send this game to halftime. Johnny Bravo and Ironside, these two teams both trying to win their first national championships.
It's hard to believe that neither of these teams have won before. It speaks to just, you know, how good Revolver has been. You know, Double Wide and Chain each had their one championship year, and before that it was Sockeye and Furious. Pacific Northwest, Seattle and Vancouver.
You see Double Wide's win in 2012, Chain Lightning out of Atlanta in 2009. Revolvers won 3 of the last 4.
A lot of players in this game were on some of those teams. Josh Marquette was on that Chain Lightning team. Kurt Gibson, Brody Smith, both on that Double Wide team. On the deep point going into the half, Bob Pryor is going to go with some of his O-line guys, including Jimmy Mickle, Kurt Gibson, Ryan Farrell. Also out there, Peterson, Conker, Matsuka and McShane. Excuse me, Lance and McShane. Junky look. Garcia
flips it back to midfield where Matt Rebholz has it. Now back to Garcia.
Garcia's been so super solid for Boston this weekend. And as I say that, he makes a mistake.
Turns it over. And now Jack McShane's got it. A lot of their offense in there on defense. Johnny Bravo's in good shape. Back to Gibson.
You would think so. And one of the reasons that Nick Lance moved from the D-line, or from the O-line to the D-line, is because when he was on offense, he's so active as a cutter. As he gets the disc here, there were times when they would basically just Lance watch. And they move him to the D-line, it gives them more of a chance to cut off turnovers. Here he's triggering the possession. On the edge of the red zone here, Bravo trying to take half. If Bravo can do that, we'll be back on serve. Boston would receive to begin the second half.
A pick was called away from the disc. Looks like a change is being made here. Ironside bringing Mark Sherwood into the game.
Let's go, Boston!
Good battle in this men's final. It's been back and forth early. A long way to go in this one. This halftime point could be decided here soon. Nick Lance Gets it down along the sideline to McShane.
May have been a foul in the stack away from the disc. That was a ridiculous flick break there by Lance. Great agility to get that right step in the low release. And now back to Lance, looking for the swing, not there.
Scoobers it to Mickle on the sideline. Mickle sends it back to Nick Lance, gets it right back from him. Looking for the point here to send this game to halftime. A flick out to Lance instead. Lance sends it over to the end zone, and it's pulled down in bounds by Kirk Gibson. And it's Johnny Bravo with the halftime lead over Ironside, 8-7.
I'm not sure how you guard guys like Nick Lance and Jimmy Mickle when they're handling. You just got to pressure them as much as you can and hope they make a mistake with a throw. That one dangerously close to the sideline, but Gibson able to get the first point of contact inbounds. If you needed 2 feet, this probably wouldn't have counted. But he got that first foot in, and Kurt Gibson able to help Bravo take half. 8-7. We're on serve. Down on the field, we'll chat with Josh McCarthy, the head coach of Boston Ironside. And Coach, you got a good start to this game, much better than Thursday. You got the couple of breaks. What turned things around and allowed Bravo to take half in your mind?
We had a couple of giveaways, and we got one of them back. But those unforced turns are going to get you in a game like this.
I'm sure you're locked into this game, but as an Ultimate fan, some of the matchups on the field with George on Jimmy and all the matchups, really, the fact that you have the confidence to put a guy like John Stubbs on Bart Watson says a lot about how good he can become.
Yeah, he's already quite a good defensive player. Bart's a tough matchup on the field. You got to have somebody who's got some speed and some smarts. So Wallach and John Stubbs are good matchups for him.
As you take this to halftime, what will be the main conversation points with your team at the break?
Go back to basics. Go back to basics and we'll be fine.
Coach, best of luck. Thanks for the time.
All right, thank you.
That's Josh McCarthy, the head coach of Boston Ironside. On serve at the half. Bravo 8, Ironside 7. The national championship in the men's division on the line today in Frisco.
The 2014 USA Ultimate Championships are brought to you by Discraft Ultrastar, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Ask your retailer today about Discraft Ultrastar. The Triple Crown Tour, America's most competitive and prestigious series of ultimate tournaments. And by USA Ultimate, the national governing body of the sport of ultimate in the United States. To learn more about USA Ultimate or to find out where to play in your area, visit usaultimate.org.
Frisco, Texas, it's halftime here in the men's championship game. A shocking weekend in the men's division. 16 teams started with a championship dream, and just 2 still with the hopes of hoisting the trophy as we check out some of the first half highlights. Early on, Boston was in rhythm. Will Neff beating Stanley Peterson deep. It's amazing to see Peterson on the field after his ankle got banged up yesterday. Piers McNaughton in the end zone for the score, and later, George Stubbs finding the youngster Jeff Babbitt. The youth movement has been a key part of Boston's success, and then Josh Marquette to the elder statesman Danny Clark, this year's Farraker Award winner. But Bravo would respond as we knew they would. Watson to Mickle and a soaring sky over Stubbs, and then again Mickle up line, the unguardable phenom from Colorado. Mickle's also got the throws, this time to the end zone for Ryan Farrell, one of the Bravo leaders and the captain of the Denver team that has had so much success in the club scene, but the national championship has proven elusive in that first half. Bart Watson led the way in the assist category. Mickle and Gibson both finding the end zone twice. Very spread out offense and spread out distribution for Boston. And certainly the stats on the screen, but not the most important factor in this game with these two teams. And as we look at what's going to be important in the second half, Boston will start with a disc. So we're on serve with Denver up by 1. And a championship like this could come down to just one crucial mistake. We'll step aside. Second half action in the men's national championship game coming up. We'll talk with the Bravo coach when we come back. Back here in Frisco, Evan Lepler with Wayne Randazzo. We're chatting with the head coach of Johnny Bravo, Bob Cryer. And coach, I imagine you were a little dismayed by the slow start, but have to be impressed with how your team was resilient and overcame the adversity to take half.
Yeah, that was the first time that we have trailed all weekend. A little slower start, a little bit of the pace of how this game, how they set up the finals was a little different than the other games, and I think that contributed a little bit to whether we were ready on that first point. But we responded exactly as I expected us to, that we started trusting each other and believing that we were going to get those discs back, and if we all did each of our individual roles, things would work out.
Bob, you've coached Jimmy Mickle for quite a while. He's had an accomplished career. He's trying to become the first player ever to win the Callahan, the college title, the club title, all in the same year, and you went to him on that first point. He skied over George Stubbs. What has it been like to coach him and watch him grow as a player?
It's been phenomenal. I coached him 2 years when he was in high school, before Bravo as well, so I've seen the entire maturation process, and he is just a treat to coach. He's got the finest character, just all the finest qualities of what Ultimate represents.
What was he like in high school? Did you know he'd be this good?
Yes, I believed he would be. I think that Colorado Ultimate lags behind some of the other places in how high level the youth scene is, but it's growing, and he stood head and shoulders above his peers. He and Hidde Sneeder played high school together, and you could see the talent that they already had at that young age, even though they didn't have the highest competition to compete against.
And the last thing, what are the keys to winning a championship here in the second half?
The key is for our offense to continue to be sharp. Now that we've got our lead back, we're not going to have to chase the game. It's coming down to whether our O executes and whether we can keep that lead. We don't need the breaks, but one of them would be nice, and we definitely have to keep the pressure on their defense or on their offense with our D to make them work really hard each time. Give our O-line a rest.
We very much appreciate your insight. Thank you and good luck.
You're welcome.
That's Bob Cryer, the head coach of Johnny Bravo. His team's up by 1 as you see the bracket. A couple Universe Point thrillers yesterday as Denver dispatched Toronto Goat, warding off the Herd comeback, and Boston had an 11-6 lead over Ring of Fire from Raleigh, one of the oldest club teams in the 25th year. And Ring still trying to get the Holy Grail too. First time since 2003 that there hasn't been a team from San Francisco or Seattle in the men's final. And as fans gather for pictures around the USA Ultimate, that might be the Spirit Award celebration. Danny Clark, the Ultimate Spirit winner, he got the Farraker Award, and the second half about to begin here in Texas. Nick Lance ready to pull for Bravo.
8-7 lead for Johnny Bravo as the second half is about to get started for Boston Ironside. Now an opportunity here to get the disc to start the half and get right back into a tie. We saw the women's final very similarly close throughout the first half. End up with DC Scandal pulling out the 12-10 win.
And in that Spirit celebration, the Team Spirit Award winner this year goes to Minneapolis Sub-Zero. Apparently we weren't deducting points for wardrobe.
Sub-Zero, congratulations to them for the Spirit Award. How does that get determined anyway?
Well, the opposing teams after each game ranks the team that they're going against in a number of categories, and I think this year all those rankings and teams' opinions of one another are going to get published, which could lead to some interesting post-tournament bickering or celebration, one or the other.
Ironside with the first possession of this second half. Trying to even things up after a good run by Johnny Bravo. To end the first half, a 5-2 run.
Defensively to begin the second half, McShane was on Cricket. Oh, they switched away. Farrell with a layout D.
And a big stop for Johnny Bravo. They have not led by more than one yet. A chance to grab a 2-goal lead here.
I gotta say, every turnover right now, Wayne, is of the utmost importance. You know, I really think this second half should not have that many turnovers. These offenses, if they want to win, need to take care of business. Farrell, yes indeed. He's one of the best handler defenders, and you know, I asked him once, how do you do it? Because guarding a handler who's as quick as Cricket is so tough. It's about trying to anticipate their movement, use your body to get in the way, and holy cow, Farrell gets one and gives it back, and it looks like he called a foul, and Cricket may not agree.
So Marquette and Farrell discuss the penalty. And if they can't come to an agreement, the observers will get involved and make a decision for them. As we'll soon be joined here in the second half by the CEO of USA Ultimate, Tom Crawford.
Guys, can you come to a resolution, or would you like me to make a ruling?
Well, certainly wasn't.
I heard all your discussion.
Okay, so unless maybe Cricket called a travel.
Observer ruling is that the foul was before the throw, not involved. So no foul.
No foul.
That's the right call.
And Boston Ironside gets it back after a couple of turnovers to start this second half. Malachek wants to chuck it deep, but instead goes with the conservative swing pass.
Begrudgingly, occasionally he'll dump the disc.
Now Danny Clark fires it forward.
Oh, now he'll shoot one deep.
Going with a deep ball, and that's all alone for Pierce McNaughton to tie this game.
Missed opportunity there for Bravo. Not sure if they technically had it in the red zone, but it was certainly in Ironside territory, and Farrell could not punch it in. And here's another crispy biscuit from Muffin. Nice tight rotation, low release, and a perfect angle to allow McNaughton to zoom in right in its path for the easy grab. Malachek, the former Wisconsin Hodag.
Two goals today for McNaughton.
And he played at Tufts, now helping to coach the Harvard team. It was really good this past year with Jeremy Nixon, a guy who Boston thought they'd have on the roster for Ironside, but he was injured, couldn't recover fast enough. Although it did allow them to have a roster spot open for Mark Sherwood, who just moved to New England.
Great crowd was here last night for those two men's semifinals. Another big crowd here today.
Yeah, the energy, you know, especially the Boston Ring Universe Point game. You know, someone asked me on Twitter, it was a 20-minute Universe Point. Why was it so great? That wasn't great Ultimate. You know what? The suspense was building with every second. And with a stoppage there, you knew that the next score was going to end one of those team seasons. So I was fine with that point lasting as long as it possibly could. Both teams turned it over twice. The folks at UltiWorld tweeted that there were 17 fouls during that point. While I wasn't counting myself, I believe it. And with all things considered, I thought the spirit was all right. Thought it was solid. And for the most part, this weekend, I think the spirit has been really good. I think the club game is at a much better point than it was 5-10 years ago. And that's sort of a byproduct of the growth of Ultimate. You know, some of the top players have gotten to know each other more and more, a virtue of the Next Gen Tour and Junior World Games teams.
And a lot of players move around and play for multiple teams as well.
And that's how, you know, in the women's final at 11-10, you can see Octavia Payne and Anna Nazaroff laughing on the field together during a point when they're guarding one another with a championship on the line. Now, I guarantee you George Stubbs and Jimmy Mickle have just the utmost respect for one another. And Ultimate fans around the world cherishing the opportunity to watch these guys go head-to-head with the biggest stakes.
High stakes here in the men's championship, 8-8. Possession for Johnny Bravo. Jimmy Mickle sends it back. Bart Watson flings it to the side. Kurt Gibson had such a big game yesterday, scored half of Johnny Bravo's goals in the semifinal. This one's too far.
Wow.
Ackley was in the neighborhood, but not even really close to him.
So we've seen Farrell and Watson both with errant throws on the first 2 points of the second half. Oh, goodness. John Stubbs just got crunched by Kurt Gibson.
See it again as Stubbs goes for this low throw. Had to reach back a little bit, and Gibson tramples on top of him. Seems like everybody's okay. Stubbs will walk off the field on his own power.
Russell Wallach will take over with the disc. Don't believe Bravo took a sub.
Coming up to 20 minutes before the soft cap. We'll see if that comes into play in this men's championship. It very well may. Still plenty of time for these two teams to get up near 15 and decide the champion. Waldek finally puts it into play, and now Stubbs sends it deep. Into traffic as it curved to the defense, and Ryan Morgan picked it off.
One of the most overlooked guys on Bravo, Ryan Morgan. He's been indispensable on offense and coming up with a big D. And now Mickle lets one fly. Watson was cutting in, and Hatchett will prevent Bart from making the play.
Some miscommunication as Watson did start back toward Mickle, and Mickle fired deep. So a hotly contested 9th point, as this game's been tied for some time.
The lesson is always, don't listen to anything I say. I just said there weren't going to be very many turnovers the rest of this game.
Been nothing but since you said that. Russell Wallach will get it back here after foul was called. Good matchup between these two perennial contenders, but never been champions. Rusty Ingle-Smith fires it to the middle. A flea flicker there as they send it to the near side. Dangerous pass and a good effort by Hatchett. But Kurt Gibson, terrific on defense.
Better job by Kurt. You know, Kurt may not have gotten the D there, but he forced Hatchett to change his route to the disc.
And now a timeout being called by Johnny Bravo.
This has obviously been a long point, but it's such an important one.
Each Each team with 2 timeouts in this half. Denver using their first as we look at what you were talking about earlier, the spirit of the game. Something that's very important to Ultimate in their bylaws. This quotation.
What governs the game, the spirit of sportsmanship, placing the responsibility for fair play completely on the player. Highly competitive play is demanded. Well, I guess it's encouraged, but never at the expense of mutual respect among competitors. It's not eye for an eye. If you've been wronged, you're not supposed to wrong somebody else. And, you know, the rules assume that you're not going to intentionally violate the rules. And, you know, I do really like the observer system. I like the fact that observers have started to flex a little more muscle in issuing TMFs for fast counts and overly aggressive marks and unnecessary calls. Sometimes I wish the observers made the calls a little bit quicker, especially in a situation like this when we are using the time cap. You don't want to waste that time in the midst of discussion. We have some great observers in the game that do a tremendous job, and you know, obviously observers are referees. They're not going to get every call right, but I mean, to be honest with you,
they don't miss very many.
Yeah, how many times do NFL or NBA or college basketball refs get things wrong? It seems like every single game. In observers, it seems usually get it right.
Yeah, there's far less controversy in these matchups. And even without any benefit of replay, they get one look live. And it seems like they mess up very little. Maybe once in the 3 tournaments we've covered together this year, the Triple Crown Tour, that didn't agree with one of the calls.
And they take their jobs very seriously. Well, this has been a very long point. Tied at 8.
Coming up to 16 minutes before the soft cap. And the more time that wilts away here, the more likely it is that this game will not make it to 15.
2 turnovers aside on this point. Also a timeout. A few other stoppages. This is a Bravo offensive point, remember. So if everybody holds serve the rest of the way, Bravo would win. Boston needs 1 break to win.
Nice catch there by Gibson. Good effort on the defensive side by Hatchett.
And Hatchett was slow to get up. Sherwood went over to cover for him, which allowed Watson to get a quick swing.
Johnny Bravo in the red zone. Mickle along the sideline. Swings it back to Farrell. Flips it outside to Gibson. Short pass back to Farrell. Gibson centered. Trying to dump it in, and they do. Gibson breaks the point to Brody Smith. And Johnny Bravo with that all-elusive 9th point to reclaim the lead.
Brody Smith back playing club this year. Part of the double-wide championship team from 2 years ago. Recovered from his knee injuries. He certainly got big throws and been impressed with him from a speed standpoint. He played very sparingly at the U.S. Open. Didn't do a whole lot defensively at Worlds, but in a long point like that, it says something that he's able to come through with the score. And Bravo now 7 for 9 in the red zone.
With that goal, we bring in the CEO of USA Ultimate, Tom Crawford. And Tom, congratulations on a great year and a great tournament here in Frisco.
Thanks very much. Great to be with you guys.
Now, you have been busy lately.
Yes. In a very good way.
A very good way. Obviously, the USOC recognition has been good, and I understand you are now the keynote speaker for all of their big events.
You know, that hasn't yet happened, but we'll see what happens going forward. But I did get a chance to speak quite a bit at the most recent Olympic Assembly. I had a great experience there, and we got a great response from the Olympic community.
What were you talking about?
Talking about Ultimate and sort of introducing. It was our first official Olympic Assembly since we were welcomed into the Olympic family, and basically I was introducing the sport to the entire community, and they were really fired up. There was a real buzz about our sport.
I'm going to cut right to the last page, and you're not going to like it, but I'm sure it's the question fans are wondering.
when could we realistically see Ultimate in the Olympics? I know it's not an imminent thing, but what is the process like? And do you imagine in the next 20, 30, 40 years that it's a possibility it could happen?
I do. And let me tell you why real quickly. One of the things that was discussed at the Olympic Assembly is that the leadership across the International Olympic Committee, as well as ANOC, which is the Association of National Olympic Committees, and Sport Accord, the three big groups that run sport internationally, have all had leadership changes, and they are getting very creative the way they think about who is on the Olympic program. So I am way more optimistic than I ever thought I would be that there's a real shot for us.
And also a big year for you guys starting the USA Ultimate Foundation. Talk a little about what that foundation does and what it means to your organization.
Yeah, thanks. Just got that, the IRS approval, so the foundation is now official, and we will start immediately toward the end of this year our first campaign. The goals of the foundation are to support some of the key programs of USA Ultimate. Specifically, initially, we're going to be focused on trying to create some scholarships for disadvantaged kids. We also want to support the Girls Ultimate movement, which is to get more and more girls playing Ultimate across the United States. We are building a national infrastructure, creating chapters and affiliates, and we want to create some additional funding outside of our operational budget for those groups. And then also a lot more financial support for our national teams so that everybody that wants to try out and has a chance to play can afford to do so. So those are going to be our initial targets, but very excited about the launch of the foundation.
Team misconduct foul issued there to Matty Farrell as Boston's offense trying to work it up and even the score at 9. Chatting with the CEO of USA Ultimate, Tom Crawford. Back to the Olympics for a second. Do you have a timeline in your mind for when that could be a realistic goal?
No, it's gonna. I am going to be very anxious to see what comes out in the next 3 months. There's a whole series of meetings going on right now with the IOC and Sport Accord and ANOC where they're discussing all of these things, and they're talking about changing the makeup of the program of the Olympics to try to attract a younger demographic. And that is one of the things about our sport that's very appealing to them. It's highly entertaining, as you guys know, from sitting here and watching and analyzing it.
And Josh Marquette finds the end zone for Boston. The observers signal a score, and we're tied 9-9.
Yes. So with all of those different things going on, I don't have a specific timeline, but I would say that I am very optimistic. We just got invited to the World Beach Games. That's an ANOC event. Great opportunity for us to continue to show off the sport, and they love us when we're at the World Games, so I'm pretty optimistic.
How much does USA Ultimate have a say in how the game grows internationally? You talk about the Olympics. You can't have an Olympic sport without some other countries being involved and being good at Ultimate.
Yeah, internationally we're growing really fast, and we have a great partnership with WIFDF, our international federation. I don't know the exact number, but we're up close to 70, 80 countries now. And that is one of the things that's actually changing at the IOC. They used to have very rigid rules. You must have this many countries. Sport has to leave for you to get in because of the cap in the Olympic Village. All of those rules are the rules that are under review and are likely to change, which is why the chances are going up pretty significantly compared to the chances we would have had in the past.
One thing that I learned this weekend, there was an official from the USTA here learning about spirit of the game and self-officiation for tennis. How did that come about?
It's so cool. I mean, now that we're in the Olympic family, part of the presentations that I did at the assembly was describing our model, our observer system and our self-officiated model and our spirit of the game. And many of the other sports came up and said, we really want to learn about this. We're struggling with this. We're losing kids left and right because they're sick of sort of the environment that they're competing in with trying to trick referees or being taught how to trick referees or even being taught how to cheat. And they're dropping out of the sport because they don't like it. So USTA, United States Tennis Association, along with several others, they were the only ones that could make the trip, are trying to learn everything they can about our system because everybody's trying to get back to the real good values of sport. And they are very, very intrigued by our model.
Visiting with Tom Crawford, the CEO of USA Ultimate, and bring you back to this weekend, the final game here of the National Championship Tournament. What's this tournament been like for you and for the organization and crowning 3 new champions?
Yeah, no, it's been very exciting. Great venue, great set of volunteers here. The Dallas Ultimate Association has been absolutely phenomenal. I've got probably over 200 people a day here running this event, mostly volunteers. Great crowds and great weather, great venue, and some really exciting games. So it has been phenomenal.
Last thing, and then we'll let you go. As the CEO of USA Ultimate, give us your one primary short-term goal and your one primary long-term goal for the future.
Well, a short-term goal we just achieved, and that was to get in the Olympic family. That was definitely something that we wanted to get done so that we would then be in the game to get on the Olympic program. I think the most important long-term goal we have is to grow youth ultimate. We're just now getting the exposure that we need, the visibility we need, and when kids see this sport, they fall in love with it, they want to play it, and I think we're going to, now that we have all of the youth-serving organizations in the Olympic family starting to offer ultimate, I think we're just going to explode at the youth level. But that's the long-term goal. We want to get a lot of kids playing this beautiful sport.
Tom, thanks a lot. It's been a great year, and good luck in your future endeavors and what you're trying to accomplish in this great sport.
All right, thanks very much for having me, you guys, and enjoy the rest of the second half.
And thanks for not banishing me yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
Any day now.
Tom Crawford is the CEO of USA Ultimate, putting on this great tournament, this excellent venue, and allowing for plays like that to be made by Brandon Malachek.
Every turnover is huge at this point of the game, and Malachek has done that so often. As we return to live action, a deep shot over the outstretched reach of Jamie Quella, and Boston gives it right back that fast.
9-9 as the soft cap horn will blow here in about 6 minutes and change. So no way this game is going to be able to get to 15. We'll see what the cap will end up being. Probably around 12 or 13 as it stands right now. Dead even as these two teams have struggled for goals in the second half. We saw the offenses very fluid in the first half, but in the second half it's been all defense. Obviously, we're visiting with Tom Crawford. Some exciting things happening in the sport of ultimate and for USA Ultimate.
Yeah, no question about it. You know, I totally agree with the idea that this youth growth is going to continue to boom. More and more high schools are developing programs. Team misconduct foul on Teddy Brower-Jarris.
Deep shot taken, but a strange angle.
And not a great throw from Watson. His second turnover here in the half. And this is really stunning, Wayne. I really thought both these offenses would tighten up and value the disc. That's not been the case. You know, this is the
Jackson Clore might have gotten a bloody nose out of that.
This is the finals of nationals. The two best teams in the land in 2014 duking it out. And to be honest, you know, these guys are starting to make some tired mistakes. 9 turnovers already this half. You know how many there were in the first half? 8. In the stands, you see some Molly Brown gear. Certainly a great ultimate community in the Rocky Mountain region supporting Johnny Bravo, and you know, a bunch of mixed teams. Boston Brute Squad also from Beantown supporting Ironside.
A lot of turnovers in this second half. Very little scoring as we come up to 4 minutes now before the soft cap. In this men's championship, and another stoppage here as more time will trickle off the clock.
We are less than 4 minutes away from the soft cap. Hopefully in 2015 we won't have a soft cap after 85 minutes, because I mean, maybe some of these guys have a flight to catch, but I'm not leaving until tomorrow. I'll stay here all night. I'm looking forward to the staff ultimate game on the field afterwards.
That's a great pick by Kurt Gibson, although it seems like it may not stand.
Well, Wallach stopped because he saw a call 2 throws prior. Wallach certainly didn't attack that disc with the same vigor as he usually would.
This one likely coming back.
What's the deal?
Both teams trying to win their first championships.
Yeah, it's an off-disc foul.
Both
Off-disc
teams
foul.
have gotten pretty far in Boston Ironside. They've been in the final game numerous times. What does it take now in these final minutes for these final points to get over the hump?
Somebody's
On
got to
six,
take
on
charge.
six, on six.
And, you know, the defense has been all right, and it looked like, well, Cricket wasn't hit by Farrell. He just dropped it. I'm amazed by these mistakes. That's the 10th turnover of the half, and it was 8-7 at half. This is the 4th point of the second half right here.
Just a huge drop by Josh Marquette. And now Johnny Bravo trying to capitalize. Farrell near the goal line, shoves off an opponent, and with the hammer, connects for a big 10th point. Sean Keegan helps give Johnny Bravo a 10-9 lead.
The observers have not ruled this a goal yet. Now the question is, did Alex Simmons call this foul immediately? Farrell certainly shoved him away. That's unquestionable. Now Simmons fouled him first.
A game where no contact like that is allowed. We'll see what they determine.
You know, if I was an observer here, I'd say this is a goal, and I'd give Ryan Farrell a TMF. Because there's not an eye for an eye. He may have been fouled, but he had the choice to either call the foul, call contact, or play through it. He chose to play through it after fouling him back intentionally. And an intentional foul deserves a TMF. So I don't think Ryan Farrell handled that as well as he could have. Again, easy for me to say up here. I like Ryan Farrell a lot. Level-headed guy. It's understandable to shoo a guy off you, but you know, there probably should have been a call there. The rules state it's a non-contact sport. Farrell probably should have called a foul on Simmons, and maybe then Simmons gets a TMF for the over-aggressive mark. That's one of those things. If you don't call that and you let it continue, that's when the game can get out of hand. But, you know, we're 15 seconds away from the soft cap going on, so it'll go on after this point. And if Boston can hold, it'll be a game to 12. If Denver could break, the championship game will be played to 13.
There's the horn, so will not be played to 15. That horn looking ready for the offseason. Minutes now to the hard cap.
That is a beautiful pull, but it's not going to count because Bravo was offside.
These two teams scored a bunch early, often. In the first half that was back and forth. The second half has also been back and forth, but much quieter from an offensive standpoint.
Nick Lance. Well, he was able to replicate the pull. Will it stay in bounds? No, it will not.
So now
it is hard to pull it 95 yards like he just did.
Ironside will get it from the brick mark. Good field position.
I think, you know, most elite players have a fairly easy 70 to 75, 80 yards, but you know, to make it consistently 90, 95, 100, that's the best of the best.
That's an impressive throw, no matter who you are. Or what you're throwing.
And you're throwing 175 grams of plastic, and the hand block from McShane intercepted by Lockie.
This could be a big turn for Johnny Bravo. Soft cap horn has blown. A point here would make it a game to 13.
Matsuka Scoobers for Conker, who's really had a good championship game for Bravo.
Now Nick Lance. Out to the sideline, that's Josh Marquette, rather that's McShane for Johnny Bravo. Jack McShane will tap it back in, and Johnny Bravo looks for this point to set the soft cap. Lance around a defender to keep this possession alive. Low release. And Stanley Peterson's got it. Peterson called for a travel there by Garcia. No penalty for that. They just reset. Back it goes. Saw Alex Capinos there on the sideline, walking on crutches. Capinos played in the semifinal yesterday and got injured.
Lockie, a nice job tiptoeing the sideline.
Lance floats it over to the side for Montgomery Butler. And now Nick Lance with the catch in the end zone on the pass from Forshee. And Johnny Bravo sets the cap at 13 with a 2-goal lead, their biggest of the day.
First break of the half. Craig Forshee used the pivot and the scoober. And not a lot of margin for error there, working in tight territory. In a dangerous throw with Neff marking the hands in the air. It was a decent mark by Neff. He kept his position despite the pivot. That's really tough to defend.
Johnny Bravo trying to add their name to this list. San Francisco Revolver, the big upset, knocking them out. 3 of the last 4 titles belonging to them. Austin double wide in there as well. Johnny Bravo trying to secure their first championship. They sit 2 goals away in a game to 13. It's Ironside, who has been here before in the championship game. They've lost here a few times. Facing yet another championship game defeat, barring a big comeback.
Boston with Wallach, Stubbs, Babbitt, Ingold, Smith, the other Stubbs, Sherwood. And also Christian Foster.
Haven't seen many deep throws in this second half. Title on the line, these 2 teams have not really taken any chances.
They've had trouble enough for the short throws.
Maybe the tightness we've seen from both teams in this second half really could be hurting them both, but especially Ironside. 5 goals in this second half, despite all this time.
On the first half, we played 15 points. We had 8 turnovers. Here in the second half, it's only been 5 points, and we've had 11 turns.
It's Wallach. Nearly a turnover there, great effort Ironside able to keep it. They need a point. Mark Sherwood. To Rusty Ingold-Smith. Now it's Foster along the sideline and a stoppage. A pick was called.
Not sure if this was another pick or just a violation with the restart coming too soon.
Coming in on 3.
I was saying 6. It's
It's coming
coming in 3.
in 3. Coming in on 3! Whenever you're ready.
This is a point that Ironside absolutely needs.
Brett Matsuka's hat is about 35 yards to the right of where he is after the layout bid earlier in the point.
Things have gone. Game to 13, and Boston Ironside gets a little closer. Christian Foster to pull Ironside within 1.
Well, Boston's still in this game, but Ironside needs 2 more breaks to win. This was a hold of serve. It'll be interesting to see what the lines look like here from both sides. 11, 10, 12 minutes until the hard cap. As George Stubbs with his second dime of the finals.
If you're Ironside, what kind of lineup do you want to include on defense?
Your top 7. I mean, this is, you need a break. Whoever your top 7 defense is, if you want to throw Will Neff back out there, even though he's played offense, maybe Malachek. Certainly think Stubbs will stay out there, and Boston will counter with Keegan, Gibson, Smith, Watson, Mickle, Farrell, and I believe Clore.
They also stop play with a timeout. Each team has 1 timeout remaining.
It's going to be Morgan rather than Clore, it looks like, on this line, as both teams trying to win their first championship. These teams met in pool play on Thursday on a windy afternoon here in Frisco on the showcase field with the Next Gen Network on the coverage. Bravo won that game 12-9. And I've been saying to many people, it wasn't that close.
It's been much closer here in this championship game. Leads for both sides in this one. It's Johnny Bravo in front now. Game to 13. We see how Pool D ended up with Johnny Bravo edging out Ironside.
If Boston doesn't come back and win this, obviously there have been a lot of mistakes in the second half. Farrell touched that. He's going to have to play it from where he's at the back of the end zone.
20 yards to get out.
Can't go backwards here. Mickle saves the day.
Diving catch in the end zone for Mickle.
But if Boston can't come back, they're going to look to the end of the first half. Gibson shoots one deep, looking for Keegan. What a throw.
And Keegan able to track it down. So Johnny Bravo gets out of their own end zone with a deep puck. And now they're in the red zone.
Now Boston had a great chance to take half up 7-6. Could not do it. And it was Bravo who scored the last few of the first half to take half 8-7. It was on serve at the time. But Bravo basically has had a leg up ever since.
Game to 13 as Brody Smith tries to dump it in, and now stoppage.
Trick shot!
About 9 minutes from the hard cap.
Hey, what's the call?
Offensive foul called. Are you guys contest? No contest? You good? All right. Is that hey? Is contested foul fine? Or do you like me
7-6.
to
They
make a
led
ruling?
5-3 at one point.
Off foul.
Danger of falling down 2 in a game to 13.
Okay. Coming on 4.
That situation could have been resolved in about 30% of the time.
You could probably say that for a lot of the contested fouls. Farrell gets to Mickle. Tight defense by Ironside.
Foul called near the end zone. Gibson and Wallach going toe-to-toe.
A foul that means nothing. Time is the factor here. Mickle sticks it back to Farrell. Returns the favor to Mickle. Now Gibson along the sideline. Sends it back to Mickle to center it.
Good work, Jeff!
7.5 minutes from the hard cap, which could come into play, especially if Johnny Bravo's got a 2-goal lead.
It's just Brody. He's not that big of a deal. Let's go, Boston!
Keep it here.
Doesn't matter. There's a technical, so if you want to set up like a timeout and center it, or everybody freeze. All right. They're centering it. No, just center.
30 seconds.
Third TMF against Ironside, and Johnny Bravo with a chance to center the disc and set up their offense.
Once again, never before
20!
in Ultimate have we seen a player
10 to
win
set.
the Callahan, the college title, and the
Offense,
club
5.
title in the same calendar year. Jimmy Mickle with the disc, 2 points away from becoming the first member of that club.
And Mickle sending it to the goal line. It's a goal to Brody Smith. And Johnny Bravo's a score away from capping the incredible season for Mickle and from their first national championship.
Well, Brody Smith has done a pretty good job becoming a role player here in the semis and the finals. You know, he hasn't been the focal point of the offense, but Bob Cryer has really stressed to all of these stars how important it is to accept the role. You know, and also to figure out how they were going to put the pieces together. I think Bravo, their goal was to be not that exciting. And what Bob Cryer meant by that, they don't just want to grip it and rip it. You know, that they want to take their time, take the high percentage play. Anytime that they huck, they want it to be a clap catch. Sensational skies like we saw from Jimmy Mickle over George Stubbs in the first point. They are unreal from our perspective. But from the coaching perspective, you usually want something a little easier. You don't want to have to rely on the superhuman skills of your stars, which Bravo has many. And Bravo now 1 point away. That's a little ambitious. We got that graphic a little too soon, guys. They haven't defeated Boston yet.
That was in pool play.
Well, that's true. That's true, but it was listed under the quarterfinal and the semifinal. It looked like it was right under the final.
12-9 win in pool play for Johnny Bravo. A 12-10 lead here.
And there are going to be so many what-ifs at the end of this Nationals. What if Bravo had to go through Revolver instead of Goat? You know, what if Sockeye had gotten a free pass into the quarterfinals like you did earn as recently as 2 years ago from winning your pool? Same could be said for Machine. Won their pool, did not make the quarters. It's a different era at Nationals.
Ironside needs a goal here to keep it going.
And that's the way it is. Players, teams have to deal with it. And it does make things exciting, you know? The NCAA basketball tournament, it's one and done. Your entire season comes down to 40 minutes of hoops.
Yep.
Here you have an hour and 25, and that's just before the soft cap. So you've got time to take care of business. Of course, if we're standing around watching and not actually playing, that hour 25 is considerably less than that.
Ironside here with a shot in the red zone. If they don't score, considering the cap at 3.5 minutes. This is a must-score opportunity for Boston Ironside.
The two coaches standing side by side, both looking just flummoxed by all the calls. Well, Boston needs to punch this in here, and then they'll have to get a break to force universe, and then they need another break. As long as Boston scores in the next 3 minutes, the hard cap won't be a factor. But if Boston were to turn it over, Bravo, won't be their goal, but they could run out the clock.
They could also call a timeout. They still have one left. The hammer throw connects. And now Will Neff dumps it over the top. And Ironside gets that much-needed goal to Brian Garcia.
So that score renders the remaining time left before the hard cap moot. As Denver will either win it here or we'll have our third straight universe point in the men's division. Boston may rely on that scuba more than anybody. So Bravo
wanted to send it back, but Arquette went down, so he goes over the top. And Boston Ironside keeps their championship hopes alive. Now Johnny Bravo will receive the pull, needing a point to win.
And Bravo will take the field here with 7 that you'd expect. Bart Watson, Ryan Farrell, Kurt Gibson, Nick Lance, Brody Smith, Jackson Clore, and number 23, Jimmy Mickle. You see the Boston
Mickle
line.
Trying to make history. Callahan Award winner this year, a collegiate champion, and trying to be a club champion.
Never been done before in the same calendar year. It just sort of occurred to me as I was driving back to the hotel last night. I thought Mickle would be entering a pretty exclusive club. Didn't even realize at the time that he was trying to be the first member of the club.
The founder. Kurt Gibson's got it for Johnny Bravo, a point away from victory. Now Nick Lance.
Travel called on Gibson. Sherwood looks like he called it. Ingold Smith guarding Lance. Babbitt guarding Brody Smith. Stubbs on Watson. Hatchett is on Clore.
Kurt Gibson will have to throw it again after the travel. Game to 13. Hard cap will go off here, but it doesn't matter. Next point would win for Johnny Bravo or tie for Ironside. So we come down the end of this season and this national championship game. Gibson sticks it on the sideline for Jimmy Mickle.
Mickle thought about seeking Clore deep, thought better of it. Looking for the sure thing rather than the spectacular thing, because what they're about to accomplish will be spectacular enough.
Gibson on the brink, tosses it to the goal line. Not in yet, Brody Smith to Mickle, and Jimmy Mickle finishes off the championship.
Yeah, I didn't touch it.
Observers are going to discuss it.
Are you guys send that to us or send that back? Do you guys want to send that to us? Okay. So, no.
Whatever is called here by Babbitt, he has no sense of history.
Back to the thrower.
Oftentimes in practice, teams run double score.
What was the stall on?
Practice end zone offense.
Probably like 4 pretty early.
4?
Not over yet.
I feel like I just talked. No, dude, you counted it like 4 times.
All right. It's coming in on 2.
Okay.
Stalling 2.
All the photographers getting ready for the possible celebration.
On him, you're on the mark.
Like it was coming to Jimmy Mickle. Vertical stack in the end zone for Johnny Bravo.
Gibson will keep the disc.
Gibson goes up top. Mickle, and this time, the championship for Johnny Bravo. And it's Jimmy Mickle, Callahan Award winner, college champion, and club champion for Denver, Johnny Bravo.
Mickle Mania reigns supreme in Bravo. Bravo.
Bravo indeed. And Jimmy Mickle with the championship goal. A hero once again for Johnny Bravo in a 13-11 win over Boston Ironside.
And for the men from the Northeast, so close yet again, yet so far.
A great run it's been for Ironside. You're right. Plenty of chances to win the championship, and they've just been unable to do it. As we take a look at our Discraft Ultra Star play of the game in this men's national championship.
It's Gibson to Mickle. That duo,
testicles.
one to another, has been gigantic all throughout the weekend. Gibson to Mickle, or Mickle to Gibson, it has not mattered. Gibson and Smith win another championship. Mickle, obviously, a champion again. And for Johnny Bravo, you know, the news started to break in the springtime of the roster of talent that they were putting together. Brett Matsuka coming from Ring, Ian Toner as well. You know, a lot of guys were transplants coming to Bravo, didn't even play a lot in the championship game, but Bob Cryer able to mold these pieces into a champion and give the captains, Jack McShane, Ryan Farrell, Josh Ackley, a lot of credit too. Something they've worked for a while, the core Denver crew, and bringing in the outsiders. You know, Gibson's something of an outsider because he played for Double Wide the last 2 years, even though he's lived in Denver for a good chunk of that. Brody Smith as well. Matsuka, Keegan just moved out to Denver. And these guys, they played the team in front of them. They beat the teams in front of them. They were built to win nationals. Mission accomplished for Denver, Johnny Bravo. And Jimmy Mickle in a class by himself. 2014, the year of Mickle Mania in Ultimate. And the game could not have a better ambassador.
Bob Cryer, the head coach of Johnny Bravo, and second half not quite the same as the first half, but you guys able to pull it out.
Each of our second halves have been a gritty performance where we claw and fight, and the other team is bringing their best efforts, and we persevered again. We went through those struggles. We never doubted ourselves. We never doubted our strategies.
Bob, I know you'll gain perspective on this as time goes on, but you've been a part of a lot of great Ultimate teams. Where does this team rank for you in your rank of accomplishments?
This is the finest team I've been a part of. It's been a pleasure to coach this. We've had so much talent, and all of these guys, we worked so hard in the second half of the season on selfless play, on finding those opportunities to leave space for a teammate rather than always finding that, because we have so many guys that are used to being the man on their teams. And it shows. You could see how the offense flowed, and people were deferring to others to give that space, clearing when they needed to rather than demanding that disc.
And at what point in the season, or this weekend perhaps, did everybody buy in?
I think in our first Ironside game, when we had to claw and we had to fight through that second half, and they started to make their run and they got within one, and we responded the way we wanted to when we got punched, and at that point, the eye contact, everyone knew it. When you looked at each other, you said, they believe we're in.
Bob, congratulations. Go enjoy it.
Thank you.
Bob Cryer, the head coach of Johnny Bravo, national champions for the first time. In this victory over Boston Ironside, 13-11. And once again, at the forefront of a championship Mickelmania, baby, Jimmy Mickel, as he gets the championship goal. Jimmy, do you ever lose?
Yeah, I've lost a fair bit, but I guess not too much in the last year.
We got to get you a comb after you finish this interview, but I mean, how does this compare to your experience at college nationals? What's it been like being a part of this team and achieving what you've achieved?
It's been a tough season at times, but a lot of fun. Added a lot of new players, so figuring out how to play with each other was a challenge, but it really came together over the last couple months, so it's been an exciting ride for sure.
What was it like bringing all these pieces together for you? You know, a lot of guys that I'm sure you've watched since you were a little kid.
I mean, it was a lot of fun, to be honest. A lot of good players, but also good people. I mean, no one ever had any complaints with taking a backseat to others when that time came. So, and that's what made us successful. So it was a fun ride. Can't believe it.
Jimmy Mickel, the hero for Johnny Bravo. And Jimmy, congratulations. A great year for you and history made here today.
Hey, Jimmy, you know you're the first guy, as far as we know, that won the Callahan, the college championship, and the club championship in the same year.
I didn't know that, but thank you.
All right, Jimmy Mickel, as he gets the win for Johnny Bravo today. 13-11, they beat Boston Ironside in this matchup.
Thanks, Jimmy. Congrats.
That will do it for us here in Frisco, Texas. And this national championship weekend, it's Johnny Bravo that comes out on top in the men's division. For Evan Lepler, I'm Wayne Randazzo. We say so long from Dr. Pink Field in Frisco, Texas. Johnny Bravo beats Boston Ironside 13-11. To watch this entire game on replay, log on to watchespn.com or download the Watch ESPN app. We thank you for watching. This has been a presentation of ESPN.